The crash. A strange night. The night was quiet. The sky was full of stars, and the wind moved gently through the trees. Daniel sat near his small campfire, holding a cup of warm tea. He was alone in the forest, far from the city, enjoying a weekend break from everything. He liked peace. No noise, no people, just nature and silence. But that night was different. Suddenly, a strange sound came from the sky. It was like thunder, but sharper, louder, and fast. Daniel looked up and saw something burning through the clouds. It was not a plane. It was not a shooting star. It was something else. The object moved across the sky, leaving a bright trail behind. It shook the air. Birds flew out of the trees, and animals ran into the dark. Then, boom! A huge flash lit up the forest. The ground shook under Daniel's feet. Somewhere not far from him, something had crashed. Daniel stood up quickly. "What the hell was that?" he said softly. His heart beat faster. He picked up a flashlight and moved toward the sound. The trees were thick and the path was rough. Smoke rose into the air. The smell of burned metal filled his nose. After 10 minutes of walking, he saw it. A silver object, large and strange, was stuck between trees. Its surface was smooth, shining under the moonlight, but broken in many places. It didn't look like anything from Earth. A small round door was half open. Light came from inside, flickering like fire. He stepped closer. Suddenly, he heard a sound, a soft cry. It didn't sound human. Daniel froze. "Hello," he said, his voice shaking. No answer. He took a deep breath and moved closer. Inside the ship, wires sparked. Strange symbols glowed on a panel. Something was moving in the shadows. And then he saw her. A figure crawled out of the ship. She was tall, thin, and glowing slightly in the dark. Her skin was pale blue, and her eyes were large and silver. Her body was covered in cuts and burns. She looked weak and afraid. She fell to the ground. Daniel rushed forward. "Hey, are you okay?" he said, even though he knew she couldn't understand. The alien woman looked at him, confused and hurt. She tried to speak, but her voice was soft and strange. Daniel knelt beside her. He didn't know what to do. Should he run? Should he call someone? No, something in her eyes stopped him. She wasn't dangerous. She was in pain. "Don't worry," he said gently. "I won't hurt you." He took off his jacket and wrapped it around her. Her body was cold. She tried to push herself up, but her arm gave out. Daniel helped her sit. She was shaking. "You need help," he whispered. Her hand suddenly grabbed his wrist, tight. Her touch was strong. Her eyes glowed brighter. She looked at him with fear, but also hope. "You're safe now," he said. She opened her mouth slowly. A soft sound came out, like a whisper in the wind. He didn't understand the words, but the way she said them made him feel something. Sadness, fear, maybe a request. Then she closed her eyes. Daniel caught her before she fell again. He looked around. The ship was still smoking. Something inside beeped, fast and loud. Maybe it was going to explode. Maybe others were coming. He didn't know. But he couldn't leave her here. He lifted her in his arms. She was lighter than he expected. Her skin felt soft, like silk. Her head rested against his chest. As he turned to leave, he heard a low hum behind him. A small black sphere floated out of the ship. It scanned the area with a red light. Daniel stepped back into the trees, hiding. The sphere didn't see him. It flew away, fast. He didn't like that. He walked through the dark forest, holding the alien woman carefully. His mind raced with questions. Who was she? Where did she come from? And most important, who else knew she was here? But for now, only one thing mattered. She needed help, and he was the only one who could give it. The decision, danger or trust. The cabin was old. Wood walls, dusty windows, and a broken roof that let the moonlight pass through. It stood alone near the edge of the forest, silent and forgotten. Daniel pushed the door open with his shoulder. It creaked loudly. He stepped inside, carrying the alien woman in his arms. She was still unconscious. He laid her gently on an old sofa covered in a thin blanket. Dust flew up as her body touched the fabric. He knelt beside her and looked at her face. Her skin was strange, smooth, soft, almost glowing in the dark. Small silver veins ran across her temples. Her eyes were shut tight, and her chest rose and fell slowly. He touched her forehead. Still cold. "What am I doing?" he whispered to himself. His mind was spinning. This was crazy. A real alien. In his cabin. Not in a movie. Not in a dream. Real. And injured. He stood up and looked through a cabinet. Found an old towel, a bottle of water, and some first aid supplies. He cleaned her wounds carefully, trying not to hurt her. Her blood was dark blue, thicker than human blood. As he worked, she made a soft sound. Her eyes moved behind closed lids. She was dreaming. Or remembering. "It's okay," Daniel said softly. "You're safe here." But was she? Or was he in danger? He sat down in a chair across the room, keeping his eyes on her. He couldn't sleep. He couldn't relax. His phone had no signal out here. No way to call anyone. No one even knew he was gone for the weekend. His hands shook a little. The crash, the strange ship, her strange language, it all felt like a warning. What if something was coming? A sudden noise outside broke the silence. A crack, like a branch snapping. Daniel jumped to his feet and peeked out the window. Trees, shadows, nothing. He waited. The wind moved the trees slowly. Leaves whispered against the glass. Then, a soft beeping sound. He turned around. The alien woman was awake. Her eyes were open, silver and glowing, but weak. She stared at him, confused, breathing fast. Daniel stepped forward. "You're okay. You're safe," he said, holding out his hands. She flinched, trying to sit up. No, don't move. You're hurt." She looked around quickly. Her body tensed. Her hand reached for something, but it wasn't there. She looked at her arm. Broken, bruised. "Can you understand me?" Daniel asked. No answer. Then she whispered something. A soft word in a language he couldn't understand. He shook his head slowly. "I don't know what you're saying, but I want to help." She stared at him for a moment. Then she pointed to the door. Daniel turned to look, and saw nothing. When he turned back to her, she had grabbed something from her suit, a small device, like a glowing coin. She pressed it. A blue hologram appeared in the air. It showed a group of dark shapes, strange, tall creatures with metal armor. Their eyes were red. They moved like hunters. Behind them was a burning world. Then another shape appeared. It was her, the alien woman. She was running, holding something close to her chest. Then the hologram disappeared. Daniel stood frozen. She looked at him with serious eyes, then pointed up to the sky, and whispered one word. "Hunters." A chill ran through Daniel's body. "They're coming?" he asked. She nodded, just once. He stepped back. "Why? Why are they coming?" She looked down, touched her side, where her suit was torn. Something was missing. "Are they after you?" he asked. "Or something you have?" Suddenly, the room was filled with a strange sound. A low hum, almost like a machine. Daniel ran to the window. A small drone hovered above the trees. Black, round, and silent. A red light blinked at the center. It was scanning. He whispered, "They found you." The alien woman stood up, weakly. She pulled out another device. This one looked like a small stick. She aimed it at the window. A bright flash of blue light shot out. The drone exploded in the air, leaving sparks and smoke. Daniel's eyes widened. What the hell was that? She dropped the device, almost falling. Daniel caught her. "We need to go," he said. "Now." But she shook her head. Slowly, she pointed to the ceiling, then to herself, then to him. Then she placed her hand on his chest and whispered, "Safe, with you." Daniel didn't know what it meant exactly, but he understood something. She trusted him, and someone, or something, was hunting her. Maybe Earth wasn't ready for what was coming, but he had no choice now. He looked out the window again. More red lights blinked in the distance. Maybe more drones. Maybe worse. The clock was ticking. He looked back at the alien woman. Her name. He didn't know it, but he needed to call her something. "I'm Daniel," he said. He pointed to himself, then at her. She looked at him, paused, then said softly, "Lyra." He nodded. "Okay, Lyra. Let's move." Outside, something howled. Not a wolf. Something else. They grabbed what they could and disappeared into the night. The chase begins. Hunted. Darkness filled the forest, but it was not the kind of darkness Daniel was used to. This night felt alive, like something was watching. He and Lyra moved quietly between the trees. Her steps were light, but unsteady. She leaned on him for support, her body still weak from the crash. Her silver eyes scanned the forest like a soldier checking a battlefield. Daniel held a flashlight, but he kept it low to the ground. He didn't want to draw attention. Not now. Not when they were being hunted. Behind them, far in the trees, soft red lights flickered. Small, blinking eyes in the shadows. More drones. Daniel whispered, "They're getting closer." Lyra didn't speak. Instead, she pulled out a small round device and pressed it gently. It made no sound, but a faint blue glow passed over both of them like a shield. It faded in seconds. Daniel looked at her. "What did that do?" She whispered, "Hide. From scan." They kept walking, but Daniel's mind raced. How many were there? What did they want? Was it Lyra, or something she had? And why was he, a normal guy, now stuck in the middle of something that felt bigger than anything on Earth? "We can't keep walking like this," he said. "You need rest." Lyra pointed ahead, toward a hill. "Safe, there." As they climbed the hill, Daniel saw a dark shape in the distance. An old building, half broken, stone walls covered in vines. A place long forgotten. An abandoned watchtower. They reached the top and entered carefully. Inside, it smelled of dust and moss. Daniel found a blanket in his bag and laid it on the floor. Lyra sat down slowly, breathing hard. "You need to tell me what's going on," he said. "I saved you, but now they're after me too. I deserve to know." She looked at him. Her face was tired, her eyes full of pain. Then, for the first time, she spoke in more than one word. "I ran. From them. They kill, take, destroy worlds. Why? They want code. Inside me." Daniel blinked. "What kind of code?" Lyra touched her neck. A soft light blinked under her skin. "This holds map, weapon, secret." Daniel sat down slowly. "You're telling me you have something they want, something that can destroy them." She nodded. "And if they get it, Earth next." He stared at the floor, trying to process it all. "Why come here?" he asked. "Why Earth?" She looked away. Earth, last hope. Outside, the wind howled through broken windows. Then, the sound of wings. Mechanical. Fast. Daniel stood. "They found us." Lyra struggled to her feet, holding her side. Daniel moved to the window. 3 drones floated just beyond the tree line. Scanning. Waiting. "Can you fight them?" he asked. Lyra opened her hand. A small metal cube formed into a long, thin blade. "Some," she said. But before they could plan, the tower shook. A long black spike shot through the wall, barely missing Daniel's head. It hummed with electricity, then pulled back, leaving a hole. A voice echoed through the forest. low, sharp. Surrender the asset. You are not protected. Daniel's blood ran cold. They're talking about you, he said. No, Lyra whispered. They talk about you now too. A new sound. Metal footsteps. From the shadows came tall shapes. Not drones. Something worse. Hunters. Their armor was dark, full of scars from old battles. Their eyes glowed red. They moved like machines, but their breathing sounded human, twisted, broken. We need to run, Daniel said. Lyra shook her head. Not run. Trick. She threw a small disc onto the floor. It beeped and lit up. A fake heat signal. They follow heat, she explained. Then what? Daniel asked. She pointed up. There was a broken ladder leading to the roof. Above, the stars were bright. And so was the cliff behind the tower. We jump. She nodded. He looked over the edge. It was steep, far, dangerous, but better than capture. They climbed quickly, Daniel first, helping Lyra each step. Below, the hunters entered the tower, following the heat trail. On the roof, Lyra looked back. Ready? She asked. Daniel swallowed hard. No, but let's do it. They jumped. The fall wasn't easy. Branches broke under them. Daniel hit the ground hard, his shoulder burning with pain. Lyra landed beside him, rolling, coughing, but alive. The hunters found the fake signal too late. Daniel grabbed her hand. We keep moving. She pointed to the west. Need to reach signal. Old station. What's there? Proof. Allies. Call for help. As they moved through the trees, Daniel saw the sky begin to change. Not light from dawn, but something else. A second moon appeared. No, a ship. Massive, silent, hanging above the clouds. Is that one of yours? Daniel asked. Lyra looked up. Her face turned pale. No, she said softly. That's theirs. The secret in the sky. Truth revealed. The wind grew colder as Daniel and Lyra climbed the final hill. The trees behind them seemed quieter now. Too quiet. No animals. No birds. Just the soft hum of the strange sky above. They both turned to look. The ship was still there. A silent giant floating over the forest, black as night, shaped like a stingray with glowing red patterns along its sides. No windows. No sound. Just presence. It wasn't here to explore. It was here to watch. Or worse. Daniel whispered, "How long has it been there?" Lyra didn't answer. Instead, she stared at it with deep sadness. She knew that ship. It wasn't just a hunter base. It was something more dangerous. Daniel looked at her. Lyra, what is that thing? She closed her eyes, her voice almost breaking. It's not just a ship. It's a judge. A what? If they don't find me, they destroy the place. The people. Everything. Daniel stared at her, horrified. You mean, they'll wipe out Earth? She nodded. But why? You're just one person. Lyra looked down. Not person. Key. Daniel's mind raced. Key to what? She opened her palm. A small silver disc appeared. She placed it against her neck, and the same glow from before returned. Only this time it grew brighter, covering her face, her arms, her chest. A soft hum filled the air around them. And then, images. A glowing hologram lit the space between them. Shapes floated in the air like stars. First, a planet, her home. Once green, blue, full of life. Then war. Fire. Machines. Metal monsters swallowing cities. Hunters destroying entire continents. The same hunters chasing her now. Then a group of people. Not warriors, but scientists, elders, survivors. They were placing something inside her body. The key. Daniel watched in silence. They gave me the last map, Lyra said. A map to something hidden. Something powerful. Not weapon. Not bomb. Something to stop them. Daniel asked, "Then why haven't you used it?" She looked at him. "Because the map is only half. And the other half? Earth." He blinked. "Wait, you're saying your people hid the other half of the key on Earth? Why?" "Because no one would look here. Not before. Not until now." A loud sound cut through the sky. The black ship above them began to move, slowly drifting closer. Red lights pulsed from its underside. Daniel could feel it in his bones, like a storm ready to break. He grabbed Lyra's hand. "Come on. We need to keep going." She nodded. They reached a hidden road, broken and overgrown. It led to something Daniel had seen years ago, but never cared about. An old observatory, left to rust after it lost government funding. Tonight, it had a new purpose. Inside, the air was thick with dust. Shattered glass on the floor, old computers half covered by leaves and time. But Lyra moved with purpose. She walked to a metal cabinet, tore off a broken panel, and reached inside. A small black box. She placed it on a table, opened it, and pulled out a glowing orb. "This is the receiver," she said. "Receiver for what?" "For the truth." She placed it on the ground. It floated into the air. Bright lines of light spread out in all directions, forming a circle in the air. Daniel stepped back, stunned. A holographic map of Earth appeared, but not the Earth he knew. This one had hidden zones, glowing lines underground, strange points of energy that pulsed like heartbeats. Daniel stared. "What is all that?" "The key. It connects with something deep inside your world. Long ago, maybe before humans." "You mean like ancient alien stuff?" She smiled a little. "Your history, only part of the story." Then she touched one of the glowing points. A new image appeared. A vault, hidden deep beneath the surface. Huge doors, covered in symbols. At its center, a device that looked alive. Lyra whispered, "The second half of the map is here." Daniel stepped forward. "And if we find it, what then?" "We awaken the signal. It sends a message to others. Allies. Your people." She hesitated. "Maybe. Or something older." Suddenly, the observatory shook. Lights flickered. The floating orb dimmed. Daniel grabbed it, held it steady. Outside, a low whirring sound, then a screech, like metal being torn apart. Lyra ran to the window. They were here. A new kind of drone hovered outside, larger with a spinning core and sharp claws underneath. Behind it, shadows moved in the trees, hunters closing in. "They follow the energy," she said. Daniel looked around. "Is there another way out?" She pointed to the underground storage room. They rushed downstairs. The walls were cracked, roots pushing through cement. But it was stable for now. Daniel slammed the heavy door shut behind them. "How long will it take to reach that vault?" he asked. "Hours. Maybe less if we move fast." Daniel leaned against the wall, breathing hard. "They'll follow, no matter where we go." Lyra stepped closer to him. "Then we stop running." He looked at her. "We fight," she said. He laughed. "Just once. I'm not a soldier." "You're more," she said softly. "You chose to help. No one made you." He looked into her glowing eyes. "And you trusted me, even when you didn't know who I was." Above them, the sound of claws dragging against the roof grew louder. "They'll break in soon," he said. Lyra handed him a strange device. It lit up in his hand. "What is this?" "Defender, made for those who choose." He looked down at it. A small light blinked, then spread across his arm like armor. He felt it. Energy. Warmth. Courage. The ship in the sky rumbled louder. "You ready?" she asked. Daniel nodded. "Let's finish what they started." They opened the hidden tunnel and disappeared into the earth, toward the truth. The betrayal. Who's watching? The tunnel was cold and dark. Stone walls pressed close on both sides. Water dripped from above. It smelled like rust, dust, and secrets long forgotten. Daniel walked beside Lyra in silence, the glowing map device floating ahead of them, showing the path. Behind them, the hunters searched the forest, but the tunnel was hidden, buried deep under layers of earth and time. How much longer? Daniel asked. Not far, Lyra said. Just beyond the old city. Daniel's body ached. The strange alien armor on his arm had faded back into a small disk, but he could still feel its energy under his skin. Something inside him had changed, and it wasn't just fear. He was starting to believe. The deeper they went, the more he saw things that didn't belong on Earth. Alien symbols on the walls, broken metal structures hidden behind stone, fossilized machines with wires like veins. "Your people built this?" he asked. Lyra shook her head. "No, something older did. We only found it, studied it." Daniel looked at her. "How long have aliens known about Earth?" "Longer than you've existed." His heart skipped. They reached a large underground chamber. In the center stood a circular platform, half buried, dead. "We need to wake it," Lyra said. Daniel helped her place the orb into a slot. Lights flickered. A hum, then silence. Nothing happened. "Why isn't it working?" Daniel asked. Lyra looked confused. "It needs the second signal." "From who?" A new voice answered behind them. "From me." Daniel spun around. A man stood at the edge of the chamber, wearing a black suit, boots covered in mud, eyes calm and cold. "Agent Crow," he said, stepping forward. "United Global Defense Agency. You two have caused quite the mess." Lyra stepped in front of Daniel. He's not alone. Behind Crow, soldiers appeared, fully armed, faces covered, their guns aimed straight at Lyra. "How did you find us?" Daniel asked. Crow smiled. "You made it easy. Alien tech leaves a trail, especially when someone turns it on in an old observatory." Daniel looked at Lyra. She was breathing hard. Her hand reached for her blade, but it was too late. Crow raised a small black device and pressed a button. Instantly, Lyra collapsed. Daniel caught her before she hit the ground. "What did you do?" "Just turned off her nervous system," Crow said. "For now." "You said you're from the defense agency," Daniel growled. "Aren't you supposed to protect Earth?" Crow crouched beside him. "Exactly. And that's why we can't let her finish what she started." Daniel's eyes narrowed. "You don't want to stop the hunters. You want the key." Crow smiled again. "You're smarter than you look." Two soldiers grabbed Lyra's unconscious body. Daniel stood up, fists clenched. "What are you going to do to her?" "Take what's inside her," Crow said, "and give it to someone who actually knows how to use it. A weapon like that doesn't belong to some alien experiment. It belongs to us." Daniel's voice shook. "You're making a mistake." "No, kid. You made the mistake, helping her." The platform behind them suddenly lit up. The orb pulsed. Symbols floated in the air. A sound like a heartbeat filled the room. Lyra's body twitched. Then, her eyes opened. Silver, glowing, bright. "Put her down," Daniel shouted. Crow looked confused. "What the hell?" The soldiers holding Lyra screamed. Energy burst from her body, throwing them back against the walls. The entire chamber shook. The floating orb cracked open. A beam of light shot toward the ceiling, up into the earth. A signal. Daniel ran to her. "Are you okay?" She nodded weakly. They activated the signal, but too soon. Crow stood up, wiping blood from his lip. "What did you do?" The ceiling above cracked. A deep sound, like thunder in reverse, rumbled through the tunnel. Lyra grabbed Daniel's hand. "We need to leave. Now." But it was too late. The black ship in the sky had felt the signal. And now, it was moving. Downward. Through the air. Straight toward them. "You just told them exactly where you are," Crow spat. Lyra stared at him. They were already coming. Soldiers panicked. Alarms on their gear beeped loudly. Something was entering Earth's atmosphere. Daniel looked up. What happens now? Lyra closed her eyes. The trial begins. Humanity fights back. Rise of the Defender. The sky over Earth split open. Above the clouds, the black ship turned slowly, releasing long red tendrils of light. They reached down like claws, scanning the surface, searching for the source of the signal. Below, deep in the underground chamber, everything shook. Dust fell from the cracked ceiling. Sparks flew from the machines. Old lights blinked back to life for the first time in decades. Daniel held Lyra close, shielding her from falling debris. Soldiers ran in every direction. Crow barked orders, but no one was listening. The panic was too loud. "We triggered them," Daniel shouted. "They're coming." Lyra coughed, her skin glowing in pulses. "We didn't call them. We awakened something else, something older." Daniel helped her stand. "Then what did we call?" She looked into his eyes. "You'll see." At the center of the chamber, the cracked orb spun faster. Its light turned golden, forming a new pattern in the air, shaped like a spiral key. It hovered in front of Daniel. He reached out, and it flew into his chest. A flash of light exploded around him. Daniel screamed and fell to his knees. Images flooded his mind. Cities not from Earth. Machines with living minds. Wars fought across galaxies. Voices in alien languages. Explosions, fear, light. And then, a symbol. The same spiral, but larger, deeper. His heart pounded. His skin burned. His right arm glowed, and the armor returned. But not just on his arm. It spread across his chest, shoulders, and down to his legs. Like liquid metal wrapping around him, alive and intelligent. Daniel wasn't just wearing it now. He was connected to it. Crow stared, frozen. "What is this?" Lyra looked at Daniel, barely able to stand. "He's the one it chose." Daniel stood up slowly. The room seemed quieter. The lights in the chamber responded to him, flickering with his breath. Crow raised his weapon. "Step away from her." Daniel didn't move. Crow fired. A bolt of energy shot toward Daniel. But something strange happened. The blast hit a transparent shield, an invisible barrier around Daniel's body. The energy bent around him like water hitting glass. Daniel looked at his hands, shocked. "I didn't even move." Lyra smiled weakly. "The armor protects. The one who protects." The ground trembled again. Then, a terrible sound filled the air. The roar of the ship above breaking through the clouds. It was here. The hunters dropped from the sky like shadows with wings. Long bodies, armored heads, and red eyes that glowed like fire. They didn't wait. They attacked. Above ground, chaos exploded. The black ship hovered over the forest. Trees bending beneath its weight. Lightning shot from its underbelly, burning the earth below. Dozens of hunters landed, marching toward the observatory ruins. Weapons ready. Cold. Silent. But this time, Earth was not helpless. Inside the chamber, Daniel moved like someone no longer afraid. He stepped in front of the entrance as a hunter smashed through the wall. The creature raised its weapon. Daniel raised his hand. A pulse of white energy burst from his palm and hit the hunter in the chest. It flew back like a ragdoll, smashing through the stone. More hunters followed. Daniel didn't wait. He ran toward them, faster than human speed, armor glowing with every step. The chamber lit up behind him like a sun. He punched one hunter with full force. Its metal faceplate cracked like glass. Another tried to grab him from behind. Daniel spun, sending it flying across the room. Crow watched in disbelief. This wasn't supposed to happen. He turned to escape, but Lyra blocked his path. She was weak, but still dangerous. "You tried to use us," she said. "No, I tried to protect this planet by giving it to the enemy." By controlling the power, that boy doesn't even understand what he is. Lyra's eyes narrowed. He understands enough. She raised her hand and pressed a button on her wrist. Outside, a hidden beacon lit up. A signal went out, but not to the hunters, to someone else. Meanwhile, Daniel stood over the last hunter in the chamber. It crawled away, hissing in pain. He looked down at it, not with hate, but with something deeper. He didn't want to destroy. He wanted to protect. He let it live. The armor pulsed, and the hunter vanished into black smoke, teleported back to the ship. The black ship paused. For the first time, it hesitated. It sensed resistance, not from another alien, from a human. Daniel turned back to Lyra. "They're waiting," he said. "They won't leave. Then we show them they're not the only ones watching." Above them, a strange hum filled the sky. A second ship, smaller, glowing blue, appeared high in the clouds. Then another. Then three. Not enemy ships. Responders. Old allies, buried in space, now returning to the signal that had been sent long ago. Daniel looked up. "What are those?" Lyra smiled. "Hope." The black ship began to retreat, slowly lifting higher. The hunters, sensing they were outnumbered, pulled back into the shadows. Daniel could feel the armor fading, relaxing around him. He fell to his knees, exhausted, but alive. Later that night, as silence returned to the forest, Lyra and Daniel sat near what remained of the observatory. "You said I was chosen," Daniel said softly. "But why me?" She looked at him. "Because you didn't run. When you saw me, broken, bleeding, you didn't see a threat. You saw someone who needed help." He stared at the stars. "I was just trying to do the right thing." "Sometimes," she said, "that's all the universe needs." He looked at her. "So, what now?" She held out a small piece of the broken orb. "Now we finish what we started. The real vault is still out there. The map is only the beginning." Above them, the stars were no longer empty. Someone was watching. But now, so was Earth. And this time, Earth was ready. The final stand. Humanity rises. The world had changed. Not everyone knew it yet. Not every city had seen the skies open. Not every person had heard the roar of the black ships above their homes. But change had begun. And deep beneath the earth, where ancient secrets once slept in silence, a human and an alien stood together, not as enemies, but as protectors. The wind howled over the frozen plains of Siberia. Snow fell in waves, thick and fast, covering the ground like a blanket of silence. And yet, below the ice, something was waking. An ancient vault, hidden for centuries, buried beneath metal and stone. It pulsed now, glowing with the same spiral symbol that Daniel had seen in his vision. He stood at its entrance. Beside him, Lyra, healed now, stronger, her silver eyes calm but focused. Behind them, a team of humans, scientists, engineers, even soldiers, not sent by governments, but volunteers, people who had witnessed the events no one could explain, and decided not to look away. "This is it," Daniel said quietly. Lyra nodded. "The second key. It's here." Daniel held out his hand. The alien armor returned, wrapping his body with a soft hum. It no longer felt strange. It felt like part of him now. "Ready?" he asked. Lyra smiled. "Earth's story begins here." They stepped forward. Inside the vault, silence waited. No sound, no heat, only the slow hum of something ancient still alive. Daniel touched the door. The spiral on his palm glowed. The metal recognized him, opened for him. Inside, they found a room with walls like mirrors, reflecting stars that didn't exist anymore. At the center, a sphere floated, dark, silent. "This is it," Lyra whispered. "The core." The core was more than data, more than power. It was a message, a beacon created long before either of them was born. Daniel stepped forward and placed his palm on it. The vault exploded with light. The mirrors turned into windows. Stars spun around them. Voices, hundreds, whispered in languages Daniel couldn't understand, but he felt them. Sadness, pain, hope, survival. The core connected to him, through his body, through his memory, through his choice. He saw the beginning of the hunters, a species built for war, programmed by something darker, something still in the shadows, a force that moved across galaxies, consuming everything, turning worlds into factories of death. They weren't hunting just Lyra. They were hunting anyone who remembered what freedom felt like. And they were coming, faster than expected. On the surface, the black ship returned, bigger than before. But this time, it wasn't alone. Dozens of hunter ships pierced the sky. Their engines screamed like dying stars. People in cities around the world stopped and looked up, phones raised, recording what they thought was the end of everything. Governments panicked. Militaries scrambled. But in the sky, far above Earth, something else moved. A ripple. Then light. Then allies. Old ships, built by forgotten races. Machines awakened from silence. Fighters once lost, now returning, responding to the signal Daniel had sent. The universe had heard, and it was not done fighting. Daniel stepped out of the vault. The wind hit his face. Snow blew around him, but he didn't feel the cold. He stood at the edge of a new battle. But this time, he wasn't alone. Lyra stood beside him. Behind them, people were no longer afraid. The defense systems activated. Energy cannons rose from hidden bunkers. Earth's first real defense grid, created with Lyra's technology, human willpower, and the secrets from the vault, roared to life. The final stand had begun. The sky above turned into war. Hunter ships fired beams of fire. Earth's defense fired back, blue streaks of light cutting through darkness. Daniel jumped high, armor glowing, and slammed into a hunter ship's hull. His fists melted metal. Explosions lit the clouds. On the ground, soldiers protected cities. Drones flew beside jets. For the first time in history, humans fought in the air, on the ground, and in space. And they weren't losing. Above it all, the largest hunter ship descended. The mother vessel, ancient and angry. Daniel looked up at it. He knew this was the core of the enemy, the leader, the mind. "We end this now," he said. Lyra gave him a small device, a last gift. "This can shut down the control system, but only if you reach the heart. Then that's where I'm going." "Daniel," she paused, "if you don't come back." He looked at her, "Then make sure the world goes on." She kissed his forehead, and he flew. The final fight happened in silence. No music, no words. Just Daniel, inside the mothership, facing an enemy with no face, only machines, claws, and rage. He ran, jumped, fought through the halls like veins. His armor broke, his strength faded. But he reached the core. And in the last moment, he placed the device into the heart. The light turned white. The ship froze. All across the sky, hunter ships dropped from the air. Silent, dead. Earth was quiet again. Hours passed. Then a door opened in the sky, and Daniel fell through it, alive. His body weak, but breathing. People cheered. Lyra ran to him. He smiled through the pain. "We did it." She held his hand. "No," she said. "You did." Weeks later, the world began to rebuild. Governments admitted what had happened, and a new name spread through the cities, across networks, on every screen. The Defender, a man who was never trained to fight, who had no weapons, who didn't want power, just did the right thing. Daniel stood on a rooftop, looking at the stars. "Do you think they'll come back?" he asked. Lyra stood beside him, Someone always does. He nodded. Then we'll be ready. Above them, the stars didn't feel empty anymore. They felt watched, but not with fear, with respect, because Earth had risen. And it wasn't just home to humans anymore. It was home to hope.